With less than half of the state fully vaccinated, California rolls out some major incentives. The millions of dollars in prizes now up for grabs to encourage more people to get their shots.
Plus, with beaches already crowded, the safety precautions to keep in mind this Memorial Day weekend.
And the pandemic stretched nurses to their limit. How 3 local high schoolers developed a Positively San Diego app to help them give a hand.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
$50 gift cards available today for anyone that has not been vaccinated to have that opportunity to be vaccinated.
That's just one of the incentives of more than $100 million now being offered by the state to get more people vaccinated. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Governor Newsom laid out the prize on the table today. And we're also joined now by our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura with what else is up for grabs. Anthony.
Kimberly, Steve, there are a variety of incentives from cash prizes to those gift cards that you heard about, and the governor calling this the largest vaccine incentive program in the country. Now, according to the state, close to 63% of Californians 12 and older are at least partially vaccinated, but about 12 million people who are eligible for the vaccine have not gotten it. The state is setting aside $50 gift cards for newly vaccinated people starting today. They're giving them to the first 2 million people in a first-come, first-served basis. Now, there are also cash prizes that anyone vaccinated can have a chance at, meaning anyone who's gotten at least one shot of the vaccine are automatically enrolled in the incentive program. 30 people will be selected to get $50,000 each, and 10 people will be selected to get $1.5 million each. This totals up to a $116.5 million incentive program for California. The governor in a news conference today saying this is a good use of resources as they have started to see vaccination numbers start to slow.
Those first doses, those first shots that are way down. And so you can see that cliff coming in the next week or two. And this is what we're trying to mine and trying to address.
Now, CVS announced today that those who are vaccinated by June 1st have a chance at some sweepstakes prizes, including cash, destinations, and trips. They are adding to a list of businesses that are working to incentivize getting vaccinated. We're reporting live tonight. Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
Anthony, thank you. Call it a preview of things to come. Crowds are already starting to form along San Diego's beaches, and it's not even officially Memorial Day weekend yet. Tomorrow marks the first holiday weekend since many COVID restrictions were loosened. Our ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano brings us a few safety pointers from law enforcement.
Good evening. Yes, police and lifeguards both told me today that they are beefing up their presence here in anticipation of the Memorial Day weekend crowds. Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial start of summer. It may also be the first weekend people feel comfortable enough to do what they used to.
We do expect the beaches to be full.
Last year, the beaches were basically off limits. Parking lots were taped off, masks and 6-foot social distance were required, and you weren't even allowed to place your beach towel down on the sand.
Well, last year we were closing our parking lots and we had a lot of rules and restrictions out here on the beach. This year, it's a different story.
Now, with many of the restrictions lifted, AAA estimates that 37 million Americans will travel 50 miles or more from home. That's up 60% from last year. But just because the COVID rules are no longer, lifeguards remind us of the pre-COVID rules that are still in effect.
No alcohol on the beach and boardwalk and park areas. Also no glass. And we do permit fires in designated fire squares along the beach.
Some problems they've seen lately are folks starting bonfires in the sand or those burning wood pallets with nails or paint. Both are not only illegal, they can cause serious injuries. And as for rental equipment, law enforcement says to stick with the brick and mortar stores with insurance, not the app rentals.
Well, we do see a strong connection with accidents that happen out here on the water. For those that are not renting from reputable companies that are giving you the proper training, giving you the proper equipment, and they also maintain those vessels properly.
And lifeguards say the first thing that you should do when you get here is talk to your family, including the little ones, about your established locations. So, for example, make sure you look up a permanent figure like this one here, Lifeguard Tower 15, and
tell your kids that you're always going to be around that. That will help kids from getting lost and your stuff from getting lost as well. In Mission Beach, I'm Rena Nakano, ABC 10 News.
Pick a point. Great point. And for the first time, San Diego's rolling average for positive COVID cases is below 1%. We hit this milestone despite seeing just over 100 new cases today. And we last saw more than 100 new cases 7 days ago. The county added locally, one more person died from the virus. The FAA says it will increase scrutiny on Mexican airlines flying to and from the U.S. This week, the agency downgraded Mexico's air safety rating. ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth to explain what that means and the potential impact.
Just last month, San Diego resident Brandon Laurel flew to Mexico for a pretty memorable trip.
I went to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico with my entire family, and I got married. It was a great trip. We had a great time. We actually, spent the following week out there for our honeymoon.
They took the Mexican airline Volaris, and they're planning another Mexico trip in a few months. So the announcement that the FAA has downgraded Mexico's aviation safety rating got his attention.
That would definitely raise some concerns, I think, to anyone.
The FAA said it audited the Mexican government agency that oversees flights from October 2020 to February this year and found several areas of non-compliance with minimum international safety standards. The FAA didn't go into specifics, but said the issues were with government oversight, including potentially the technical expertise, training, and record keeping by inspectors.
They're either not overseeing the airlines as much as they should, or maybe they're lacking specific qualifications in people who do those oversights.
Ed Coleman is a professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
That's typically what you see in here is they'll have an overturn, or they'll have people that will leave and then they can't get the expertise to come back in. To manage the system as it should be.
Mexico says the issue is related to staffing, writing that the U.S. audit was carried out at a time when their version of the FAA was operating with 1/4 of its personnel and amid a significant surge in the COVID-19 pandemic. The change moves Mexico from the premier Category 1 safety rating to Category 2, with the likes of Venezuela, Bangladesh, and Pakistan.
Is there any significant impact to the consumer as a result of a downgrade like this?
There could be. So what happens is they can only fly what they've been approved to fly at this point.
Mexican airlines can keep coming to and from the U.S., but they will not be allowed to add more flights at a time when air travel is beginning to recover from the pandemic. Experts say that could make ticket prices spike. But the FAA's announcement only affects Mexican airlines that enter or leave the U.S. For people who use the cross-border express to the Tijuana airport, it won't restrict those flights that stay within Mexico, which is exactly how Brandon Laurel is planning to fly later this year.
These deals come up out of nowhere, and my wife comes across them, and she'll just say, hey, want to go to Cancun in December? And who's really saying no to that,
The difference in price between flying out of Tijuana and flying out of San Diego could get even bigger. But experts don't expect this downgrade will last for long. Mexico says it's hiring and training 280 new inspectors to improve its rating. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
And the FAA previously downgraded Mexico's safety rating back in 2010, but the country was able to resolve the issues and restore its rating 4 months later.
Right now, a vigil is underway for the 9 people gunned down while working at that rail yard in San Jose yesterday. In the meantime, federal and local law enforcement there, they continue to search for evidence in that deadly rampage. Investigators appear to say that the shooter appeared to choose specific targets, all co-workers of the shooter.
I do know that he had a specific agenda and was targeting certain people. He walked by other people. He let other people live as he gunned down other people.
We heard he chose the people to shot, but I don't know why they choose him. He has nothing to do with him.
Investigators are also still working to determine a motive, which includes combing through the gunman's social media and cell phone accounts.
Things are starting to get back on track at Scripps Health after a ransomware attack on the network nearly a month ago. The attack affected the organization's digital resources from scheduling to patient care. And tonight, some patients say they are able to gain access to important information, but others say they're still having trouble. An investigation into whether patient data was affected is still ongoing, and we still don't know who's responsible for the attack.
A new report shows there are more than 130,000 low-income families in San Diego that don't have access to affordable housing. Housing advocates worry that number will continue to trend up as more big companies buy housing developments. Well, now the San Diego Housing Federation is pushing for legislation that would help other organizations such as nonprofits acquire property. The Housing Federation also wants the state to pitch in $500 million to help with this effort.
After nurses were stretched to their limits during the pandemic, 3 local high school students stepped in to help in a positively San Diego way. They developed an app called MedAlert as part of an entrepreneur competition for high schoolers. And it helps to organize and manage a nurse's schedule, and any nurse with a spare moment can see who among their coworkers may need help. The students say they did hundreds of Zoom interviews and surveys with nurses to find out what they needed.
I don't have to necessarily communicate with that person. I can just go on the app and say, I'll pick up that task, and they'll get a notification saying that this nurse has picked up that task.
The MedAlert app won Best Healthcare Pitch in the competition. It's still in the testing phase, but the students say they are aiming for it to hit the market in about 2 months.